What the Spectre does in this video will shock you. See guys, in the early 2000s, we had a controversial DC storyline called Identity Crisis. And in that storyline, Jean Loring, the wife to the Atom, Ray Palmer, she killed Sue Dibney, the wife to the Elongated Man. And she was pronounced insane, obviously, and sent to Arkham Asylum. Now fast forward to a miniseries a couple years later called Day of Vengeance, and we see Jean Loring in Arkham Asylum. She's tossing and turning, she's hearing voices in her head, and she eventually becomes Lady Eclipso, this all-powerful force of chaos. And Lady Eclipso finds the Spectre, and she starts to seduce the God of Vengeance. She seduces him and manipulates him. Now the Spectre, if you don't know that much about him, he is the God of Vengeance. He's the vengeance part of the Presence, and the Presence is basically God in the DC universe. And he usually has a balanced form of vengeance, but here he starts going wild. He's influenced by Lady Eclipso, and he turns his back on the magical side of the DC universe and starts going against all kinds of magicians. We see Ragman, alright? Ragman, he finds Enchantress in this random neck of the woods, and Enchantress tells him that, hey, we need to get out of here, you need to save me, and Ragman's like, what's going on? And she then points up, and we see the Spectre fighting against this villain, this magical villain, and at this point, Spectre has killed 700 magical users. Yeah, after being seduced by Lady Eclipso, he is doing some wild things, and at this point, he has not only killed 700 magical users, but also other magical forces in the DC universe. He has turned the Phantom Stranger into a mouse, he has taken down Madame Xanadu, he has taken down Dr. Fate, and he's planning to destroy all of magic in the DC universe. Now, how did Lady Eclipso convince him to do this? Besides seducing him, of course. She told him that magic goes against the laws of nature that God created in the universe, and it must be destroyed. All magic does is create more chaos, and the Spectre is like, that makes sense, alright, I'll destroy it all. So yeah, he's been doing that for a while. Now the Enchantress and Ragman, they get away, they survive, and they make it to the Oblivion Bar, a place where magical users share their war stories. And we see Jim Crook, who is the Night Master, he is a bartender, and Blue Devil, who is a bouncer. The both of them, they gather a bunch of the magical people in this bar into a circle, and the Enchantress tells everybody that, hey, we need to make a stand against the Spectre or all of us will be destroyed. He is too powerful to fight against alone. And Enchantress, I guess her speech was not strong enough because most of the magical users in the Oblivion Bar are like, nah, I'm not going to fight the Spectre, that's a suicide mission, and he won't go after me, I'll survive. But then a voice is heard in the corner of the Oblivion Bar. It's the Detective Chimp, and he's like, you know what, I believe you, Enchantress, but we're gonna need a whole team to fight against him. And thus, a team is formed, called the Shadow Pact. And in this Shadow Pact, we have Detective Chimp, Enchantress, Ragman, Jim Crook, the Night Master, and Nightshade. They go out to take down the Spectre, and they find the Spectre on Earth fighting against Shazam, Captain Marvel, because what I forgot to mention is earlier in this story, the wizard Shazam tells his champion, Captain Marvel, that, hey, I need you to distract the Spectre while I gain more power, because eventually the Spectre will come for me, the Spectre will come for the wizard, and once he destroys the wizard, all evil and all chaos will be unleashed into the DC universe, and this will lead right into Infinite Crisis. So it really comes down to the Shadow Pact and Captain Marvel to save the day. So let's go back to what was going on. The Shadow Pact are looking up at Captain Marvel, Shazam, and the Spectre in an epic battle. They're facing off, and the Spectre is winning until Enchantress gathers all of the magical forces in the DC universe and sends the power to Shazam. And Shazam becomes ultra powerful, and he just starts beating up the Spectre. He starts beating up the God of Vengeance, and Spectre stands no chance. But eventually, since Enchantress gathered all this power, it was too much for her. Now she has been driven insane. She's become evil. And actually, this comic has one of my favorite lines from Nightmaster. He says, "Oh no, I knew it. She has gone full Darth Vader." It's a crazy line. Like, okay, Darth Vader is the ultimate evil at this point in Star Wars, so a perfect way to describe Enchantress going insane. But yeah, since Enchantress goes insane, all the power that Shazam had, well, it fades away. And the Spectre, he gets the upper hand once again. The Spectre barely beats Shazam, and the Spectre then goes over to the Shadow Pact, who at this point, the Shadow Pact have been fighting against Lady Eclipso, because Lady Eclipso and Spectre, they showed up together, and Lady Eclipso, she was getting whooped by Blue Devil. Blue Devil, he used his Trident of Lucifer to basically detain her, but then after Spectre takes down Shazam, he goes down, pushes back the Shadow Pact, grabs Lady Eclipso, and they flee. They flee, they make it away. The Shadow Pact, they make it back to the Oblivion Bar, and they are shocked. They're like, man, I thought that was gonna be a suicide mission, but we actually survived against the Spectre. We might actually have a chance at defeating Lady Eclipso and saving the magical side of the DC universe. We must try again. And Detective Chimp, he's like, hey, I've been doing something. I got a plan to take down the Spectre this time. See, while the Shadow Pact were facing off against Lady Eclipso and Spectre and Shazam were fighting in their epic battle, Detective Chimp and Nightshade, they went to visit this teenage girl. And this teenage girl is called Black Alice. And Black Alice, she has the power to take away magical properties from anybody in the DC universe. So she could prove to be very helpful in this whole suicide mission against the Spectre. So she joins the Shadow Pact, and eventually the Shadow Pact face off against the Spectre and Lady Eclipso once again. But this time, they fell really bad. See, they kind of miscalculated how much they know about the Spectre. They think that Black Alice can take away the magical properties from the Spectre, but since the Spectre does not have a host at this time, he is not affected. And he takes down the entirety of the Shadow Pact, and he goes to the Rock of Eternity to visit the wizard Shazam. But before we get to that epic battle, what happens to Lady Eclipso? Well, Nightshade and Black Alice, they take her down. They send her to the sun, and Lady Eclipso is forced to orbit the sun multiple times, slowly draining her energy. So Lady Eclipso is out of the way, but the Spectre is too far gone at this point. He is completely insane, and he is driven. He's motivated to destroy all magic in the DC universe. So he makes it to the Rock of Eternity. Captain Marvel, Shazam, the champion, he shows up and tries to stop him, but the Spectre is all powerful at this point, and he turns Shazam back to Billy Batson, walks right past him, and walks up to the wizard. Now, the wizard has been gaining power all this time, and he's ready to fight the Spectre. They engage in epic battle, and it seems like the wizard is winning, and I must mention, at this point, the Shadow Pact, they can't do nothing. They're just on Earth. They stopped Lady Eclipso, but they can't really fight Spectre. But hey, that's when the Phantom Stranger, he returns. He's no longer a mouse, and he allows the Shadow Pact to watch the fight between Spectre and the wizard. So, up at the Rock of Eternity, they are fighting. The wizard Shazam, it looks like he's getting the upper hand, but then the Spectre gets the upper hand at the last moment, and he destroys the wizard Shazam, and he pulls the Rock of Eternity right over Gotham City, and the Rock of Eternity explodes, and out of the Rock of Eternity, a lot of evil is unleashed. The 7 deadly sins, for example, they are unleashed on the DC universe once again. And yeah, all chaos has been unleashed on the DC universe. Shazam, he is pushed onto Gotham City. He just crashes into the streets, and this leads right to Infinite Crisis. We get an epic double page spread of Shazam just crashed in Gotham with Spectre right above Gotham City and the remains of the Rock of Eternity falling from the sky. This is bad, man. Now, the Shadow Pact at this point, They're like, we have to find the remains of the Rock of Eternity, bring the Rock of Eternity back together, and seal all this evil chaos back in this rock. And eventually they do. They actually succeed, and Shazam, he's forced to basically stay at the Rock of Eternity and make sure nobody else shows up. He, in a sense, becomes the new wizard for a while Spectre, you're probably like, what does he do? He basically fulfilled what he was trying to do. He destroyed all magic almost. But at the last minute, he gets in a fight against Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate and Spectre face off in an epic battle above Earth, and Dr. Fate, he actually wins. Now you're probably like, how does he win? Isn't Spectre like super powerful? He would easily destroy the Lord of Order. Well, Spectre does destroy Nabu, Dr. Fate, but since he destroys the Lord of Order, it actually gets the attention of the Presence. And the Presence notices that the Spectre, his vengeance side, is doing all kinds of wrong. So the Presence punishes the Spectre by sending him into a new host. See, the Spectre was originally in his first host, Jim Corrigan, and then he went to a new host, Hal Jordan. Yeah, Hal Jordan was the Spectre at one point. That was wild. But the third Spectre is finally concealed. Crispus Allen. The Spectre is punished by being put in Crispus Allen, and now he's just a god of vengeance, and he's not all powerful anymore. The magical side of the DC universe is saved by the Shadow Pact, and the 9th Age of Magic ends. And a new age of magic is ushered in. The 10th Age. And in this 10th Age, well, Nightshade, she is kidnapped by Felix Faust and taken to the secret society of supervillains, so that's not good for her. Dr. Fate, his helmet, he might have been destroyed by the Spectre, but eventually a new Dr. Fate is born, and yeah, the magical side of the DC universe, it goes on. But man, magic was almost destroyed, and the Spectre almost succeeded. But this storyline just shows how powerful the Spectre actually is, and I was just shocked when he took down Shazam, took down the Wizard, and killed Dr. Fate. Like, Day of Vengeance is one of those miniseries that you guys have to read. Like, you heard me talk about it in this video, but I recommend you guys read it because it's one of the best miniseries about magic in the DC universe. It has a lot of epic battles. The Shadow Pact are awesome. I love stories that include Nightmaster, Detective Chimp, Blue Devil. Like, those are all awesome characters that deserve more spotlight. And yeah, just how the story wraps up and how it leads into Infinite Crisis, one of the best DC events of all time, in my opinion. You know, the events where Superboy Prime shows up, where Connor Kent makes his last stand. Such an epic event. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this epic magic DC storyline. Tell me your thoughts on it down below. What do you think about the Spectre? Who is your favorite host? Jim Corrigan, Hal Jordan, or Crispus Allen? And who do you think in the DC universe could actually beat the Spectre? Dr. Fate kinda beat him in this storyline, but do you think there is another all-powerful magical user that could stand a chance against the God of Vengeance? Tell me down below. And if you guys like these comic book videos, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and share the video. And yeah, DC Nation, thanks for watching, and peace out.